Good morning, welcome to Breakfast with Naga Munchetty and Charlie State.
Our headlines today. Good morning, it's Saturday the 24th of April. Our top story is that India's Supreme Court says the country is facing a national emergency as its healthcare system buckles under a second wave of coronavirus patients.
In the last few minutes, it's been confirmed that 2,600 people died in the last 24 hours and 348,000 new cases were recorded, a global record for the third day running.
Our India correspondent Yogita Limai reports from the emergency ward of a hospital in Delhi. Dozens of former postmasters who were wrongly convicted of theft and fraud have called for a public inquiry into what went wrong.
The Court of Appeal quashed the convictions of 39 people yesterday who were prosecuted because of a faulty IT system installed by the Post Office. John Donnison has the details.
The Prime Minister has been forced to defend himself against a blistering personal attack from his former chief advisor, Dominic Cumming.
Health regulators in the United States have approved restarting the rollout of the coronavirus vaccine made by Johnson & Johnson.
It was suspended earlier this month following reports of rare blood clots, but it's now been approved by an advisory panel online. From the United States, David Willis has more. The Wales manager, Ryan Giggs, will appear in court next week, charged with assaulting 2 women at his home last year. Firefighters in County Down are continuing to tackle a large gorse fire. The blaze. Time now is 12 minutes past 6. Let's take a look at a few of the front page questions. You can get them into the usual ways, and we will put them to Chris and Linda. Spotted anything inside?
Well, now people will be well aware it's the Oscars on Sunday night into Monday morning.
Doesn't feel as big a build-up because it's all online, isn't it?
Yeah, and so there's a lot of speculation in the papers about how it's all working out in practice, and they're obviously split. Yeah, but for example, if they're talking to people from home, Zooming or on clips, there is advice as to sartorial standards, what people should wear, and an email to us.
Okay.
So there's a different kind of feel to it, and it's saying they're aiming for a fusion of inspirational and aspirational clothing. Okay, just leave you with that thought for a second, so we all know exactly what that is, don't we? And formal wear, it says, is totally cool, but casual is really not. And I'll just draw your attention to this. I don't know how everyone feels about Sir Anthony Hopkins. I'm a huge fan of Sir Anthony Hopkins, who's a real character, 83, and Hopkins later explained he'd been painting in his hotel room and had lost track of time.
Oh.
So he just was doing other things, frankly,
Nice.
which I think that makes a lot of sense.
I've just looked up aspirational clothing because I didn't know what it was.
Aspirational and inspirational, I think it was.
Inspirational, I understand. Aspirational, a brand, is a brand or product which a large segment of its exposure audiences wish to own, but for economic reasons can't. So basically, it's just stuff that's too expensive for us.
OK. Well, there we go.
Weather's free, always. And glorious. I think, and Ben Rich has the details. Oh, what's that behind you? It looks like the kind of place you'd like to sit and watch the sunrise or go down.
See you later on.
Gorgeous weather here, but you can dream of travel, at least, with the travel show. Well, you can tell the impact of that. Thank you to Emma and her son Noah, and of course to Melanie and her son George for sharing their experiences and their stories with our health correspondent Dominic Hughes. Yeah,
we'll be talking more about that issue a little later in the programme, so do get in touch if it's affected your family as well.
33 minutes past 6 is the time. Now, we have become quite used to quiet football stadia over the past year because of fans being locked out. And this week, though, a special tournament took place where players also remained silent.
So the idea was to show the importance of talking about our mental health. And the event was supported by former Arsenal and England midfielder Paul Merson, who's been very open about his own struggles. Graham Satchell went to see the teams in action. So let's pick up on the sporting theme now, Mike. That is On 6:44, right now, time for a look at the weather for your. Thank you very much, Ben.
Time now for the latest technology news. Here's this week's edition of Click.
Good morning, welcome to Breakfast with Naga Munchetty and Charlie State.
Our headlines today, this morning, it's Saturday the 24th of April. India's Supreme Court says the country is facing a national emergency as its healthcare system buckles under a second wave of coronavirus patients.
Many hospitals are full, oxygen supplies are desperately low and the number of new cases is spiralling out of control. Correspondent Yogita Lamai reports from the emergency ward of one hospital in the capital Delhi. Dozens of former postmasters who were wrongly convicted of theft and fraud have called for a public inquiry into what went wrong.
The Court of Appeal quashed the convictions of 39 people yesterday who were prosecuted because of a faulty IT system installed by the Post Office. John Donnison has the details.
Dozens of former postmasters who were wrongly convicted of theft and fraud have called for a public inquiry into what went wrong.
The Court of Appeal quashed the convictions of 39 people yesterday who were prosecuted because of a faulty IT system installed by the Post Office. John Donnison has the details.
The Prime Minister has been forced to defend himself against a wide-ranging personal attack from his former chief advisor, Dominic Cummings.
Our political correspondent, Damien Grammaticus, can tell us it's becoming quite unpleasant. 12 minutes past 7 is the time. Health regulators in the United States have given the go-ahead to restarting the rollout of the Johnson & Johnson coronavirus vaccine.
It was suspended early this month following reports of rare blood clots, but has now been approved by an advisory panel which met online. David Willis has this report. Overseas travel could resume from England next month. To get ready for a rush of summer holidays, airports and airlines trying to come up with a way for passengers to prove they've either been vaccinated or have recently tested negative for COVID.
One UK airline has taken part in the trial of a new travel pass scheme in which passengers store their health details in a smartphone app. Here's more from our transport correspondent, Caroline Davies. We're joined now by the travel editor for The Independent, Simon Cord. Travel editor for The Independent.
A little glimpse of how it is in Cornwall we saw there. Ben, how's it looking for the rest of the UK?
Good morning.
Good morning. Pleasure.
Actually listening to what I'm asking for. Thank you. Ben, take care.
Thank you, ma'am.
Time now is 28 minutes past 7. Of course, Mike is going to have the sport for us in about 10 minutes.
There are fears that a missing Indonesian Navy submarine has now run out of oxygen. Just bringing us up to date to the disappearance, as Frank was saying, the last contact, last seen, the submarine, this Indonesian submarine, it's 4:28 on Tuesday, and yeah, the search clearly ongoing as we speak. Headlines are coming up. We'll see you shortly. Hello, this is Breakfast with Naga Munchetty and Charlie State. Good morning to you. It's coming up to 7:35. We have been hearing this morning that India's healthcare system is on the verge of collapse under the pressure of a huge surge in COVID cases. And while the virus appears to be under control here in the UK, questions, of course, around vaccines and testing remain. We can talk about some of these matters at home and abroad with one of our regular breakfast GPs, Dr. What's happening in India at the moment, because I think what nurses in the hospitals are desperately trying to cope. Many people perhaps may think is when we see how the doctors and the staff and the nurses in the hospitals are desperately trying to cope. We remember vividly that happening here and the new fear of panic, isn't it? And that fear, it's simple fear. Some of the papers picking up on the idea that we're not going to be wearing masks by the summer. You know, it's not sourced to any official representative of an institution. I see you shaking your head because it's messages, isn't it? And we're all desperate to get out. We're all desperate to kind of get back UK.
Yeah, and we've learned
summer. You know, it's not sourced to any official representative of an institution. I see you shaking your head because It's messages, isn't it? It's
moment, but a lot of children have been.
19 minutes to 8. Let's talk to Mike. Fans are still
7:46. Let's have a look at the weather for the weekend. Ben's got. "7:47, it's time for Newswatch now.